Some say that this is the best looking Trans Am ever. Good looks can only take you so far in life, and at some point, you also have to perform. In the case of this Cameo White 1972 Pontiac Trans Am, looks and performance are both covered. Now, 1972 is not considered the pinnacle year of high-performance muscle cars, as the new EPA regulations, higher insurance premiums, and the looming threat of unleaded fuel caused the automakers to begin dialing back the big power numbers on all the American cars. The power ratings shifted from gross to net, compression ratios began to skid, California-style emissions controls invaded engine bays, and the future didn't look so hot for the American muscle car. Another challenge for the 1972 Pontiac Firebirds was the United Auto Workers strike at the Norwood manufacturing plant, reducing the production numbers of these cars even further. But alas, the 1972 Pontiac Trans Am is still a heck of a car. Pontiac designers really hit a home run with this 1972 Trans Am. And although it shares the basic platform as the Chevrolet Camaro, the Trans Am styling is all Pontiac, as is the 455 under the hood. The 72 Trans Am styling was still fresh off the 1971 redesign, and the car still looks strong today. The second generation F-body platform is long and low, and the longer wheelbase made for a much better driving car than its predecessor. Trans Am cues include the lower front air dam rising up into fender flares, a shaker hood scoop, aggressive and functional fender heat extractors, dual sport side mirrors, the rear fender flares, a molded rear spoiler that hugs the deck lid, and the blue gradient stripe running right up the middle of the car. All Pontiac Firebirds wore the rust-proof, flexible Endura nose, but the Trans Am displayed the Screaming Firebird decal at the center of the peak. The rear bumper is still a tight-fitting chrome piece that predates the big 5-mile-an-hour crash bumpers mandated in the Motor Vehicle Information and Cost Savings Act of 1972, and the Trans Am decals still featured the block styling which dated back to '69, and the car rolled on 15-inch Rally 2 wheels. It's basically the same engine used in '71. The big difference is for '72 they started to use the net power rating system instead of gross, which reduced that number without really changing the engine. The other thing we notice is that this car seems to have been kind of driven and maintained over the years. It's showing just over 81,000 miles on the odometer, and we've got some new replacement parts like the alternator and the AC compressor. So it's not really restored, but it was maintained with new parts to keep it on the road. The '72 455 HO made 300 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque, even with a seemingly non-high-performance 8.4-to-1 compression ratio. The HO breathed through a Rochester 4-barrel carb and a performance intake manifold, and 1972 455 HOs wore a one-year-only cylinder head called the 7F6, which featured roundish ports, 111cc combustion chambers, big 211-inch intake and 177-inch exhaust valves, and these heads are very rare today. The 068 cam was used again to work the valves, and the dual exhaust sang the songs of the Pontiac V8. The Muncie M22 4-speed was the standard gearbox, and both the stick and auto ran 342 gears up back. Of the 1,286 1972 TAs produced, only 458 were manuals like this one. Although the engines began to decline in the early 70s, the suspension systems continued to improve. The car rode on 15x7-inch wheels with 60 series tires and sat low with high-rate coil springs in the front. The front sway bar was a massive 1.25 inch diameter with specially valved shocks and a variable rate steering box for excellent road feel. The rear suspension used stiffer leaf springs and shocks, and a solid 7/8 inch sway bar kept the tail from wagging around the high-speed turns. Inside, the saddle color interior features high-back bucket seats, a full-length center console highlighting the Hurst 4-speed shifter, and we've always thought that that engine-turned dash panel has a cool, racy kind of look. The big speedo and tack are a little optimistic. If you look closely, you'll see the line turns orange around $5,000 on the tack because 455 HOs didn't really dig on 8,000 RPM. This one also boasts power windows and air conditioning to keep you cool in the saddle. Get it? This is one of those cars that I would drive even if it made half the power. And see, Pontiac was smart. Even with the new EPA regulations coming, there were no laws against styling or handling, so this car over-delivered on both. We thank the Brothers Collection for letting us show it to you and hope you enjoyed this episode of Muscle Car of the Week.